The divisional round is here, and hopefully we get way better football than we had in the wild card round. It's the audible Cecil Lammy, Sigmund Bloom talking about Houston and Kansas City. Houston side first. Surprised they're here. Honestly, played a hell of a game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And maybe the Chargers chargered or whatever you want to say, Bloom. But Houston's here. They're kind of got some house money. Kansas City is definitely beatable. There's something floating around on Twitter X about how the start time of I think 4:25 Eastern or 4:30 Eastern. The Chiefs are 0-2 this year.
Ooh.
Why?
Biorhythms.
Exactly, the biorhythms. So Houston, you got a little
Hold
momentum
on.
going,
Yeah.
right? So going to Kansas City and see what you can do. Let's talk about the Texans' chances on Saturday.
Yeah, and I said it as a footnote last week that last year the Joe Flacco-led Browns went into the playoffs with some momentum into Houston in the wild card weekend, and the Texans just smoked them. I mean, well, okay, Joe Flacco is really actually late career Joe Flacco, but no, maybe D'Amico Ryans, C.J. Stroud, maybe these guys do have, because we all know that in the playoffs the screws get tighter. In the playoffs, the gimmicks don't work anymore. In the playoffs, the bar is much higher for success. And maybe they do have some insight into how to shift gears because, again, they smoked a decent opponent. And CJ Stroud went on a tear in the second half of that game. CJ Stroud played as well as we've seen him play all year. So that is some momentum. You also have the Texans' desire to be conservative. And actually, I think that plays well into this matchup. Joe Mixon grinding out long drives, Nico Collins winning one-on-one outside against Trent McDuffie or Jalen Watson, extending drives, and making this a shortened game where we'll get to the Texans' defensive side, where the Texans actually have some matchups in their favor here. So at first you would think, and I'm speaking for myself because I want to see someone else represent the AFC this year, anybody but the Chiefs, just for variety, just for a fan base to get to quench the thirst of a Super Bowl, right? And we thought, well, the Chargers played them close twice. So we want this matchup to be the Chargers if we want to give the Chiefs a run for their money in the divisional round. But the Texans actually can match up pretty well because they're going to play conservative on offense. They have someone that can win one-on-one outside. And Joe Mixon can touch the ball 25, 30, 35 times. This can be a battle of field goals, field position, conservative play, trying to avoid turnovers. So the Texans are built well for that, and it can neutralize a good Kansas City defense. The better side of the ball for Kansas City this year has been the defense. So a nice low-scoring game coming down to one possession, and now this Texans team is getting more mentally tough, mentally tested for the second time around. Remember, they just lost to the Chiefs 27-19 about a month ago. So the Chiefs may have their work cut out for them as this matchup may be closer than it looks like on paper.
Yeah, closer than it looks like on paper. Kansas City side, it's like, all right, how are you going to attack it? Of course, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelsey. One last run. I'm not sure. I don't know if
Yeah,
Kelsey
he's
wants to play
retiring.
forever and ever, right?
He's retiring.
Yeah, and go do his podcast, talk to LeBron and all that. So congratulations, Travis. Much success on everything you do. Ground game, Isaiah Pacheco, right, to battering ram. If the Texans want to make this awfully physical, well, guess what? The Chiefs can counter that. But can they score 30? Can they score if you get
No.
them in a shootout? Like, that's the question. Like, if you're Houston, actually, you come in and you just put the foot on the gas. And I'm not sure if Kansas City, even though they're fantastic, like, can really keep up with that. They didn't score 30 all year.
Yeah, that's the thing. This Kansas City offense never really came together. And, if you are dreading Kansas City winning yet another Super Bowl, you're thinking, well, this is when Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes finally get on the same page. And you've got DeAndre Hopkins, you've got Marquise Brown healthy now, you've got Noah Gray and Travis Kelsey. I'm mentioning all the passing game pieces because they don't really have much of a running game. If there's one of these two teams that can establish the run, it's not the Chiefs, not at this point. So you're putting it all back on Patrick Mahomes' shoulders. That's fine, a Chiefs fan would say, or someone picking the Chiefs in this game. Here's the problem. The Chiefs have an Achilles heel. And how was Denver ever able to play them so close? How are the Chiefs able to play them so close? They have terrible tackle play. See, I think the item going to the playoffs was one of these four people are going to be the left tackle. That's not a good look if you're planning on going to the Super Bowl to say, well, we have to pick our starting tackle out of one of these four players. Now, that means, oh boy, the Chiefs may be in trouble if they're facing good edge rushers. The Texans have some pretty good edge rushers. Will Anderson, Donnell Hunter, the best edge rusher combo in the league. So if you're fearing Patrick Mahomes getting the downfield passing game going, he's not going to have time to throw downfield. So you're looking at Patrick Mahomes having to dink and dunk, and you're looking at the Texans. Remember, and this was the year, Cease, when how many times we see Patrick Mahomes get away with these interception vulnerable throws, and they're never interceptions. This year, the football gods weren't always on Mahomes' side. Maybe at the end of the game they were. So you have an opportunistic secondary, and you have D'Amico Ryans in this defense really prepared to practice some deception, to give one look before the snap and change the look. They did this a few times to Justin Herbert last week. They understood how to deceive him at the snap and then change that look on the pick six. Eric Murray. They have some players in this secondary, Derek Stingley, who can make some game-changing plays. So the matchups of these wide receivers against a very talented Texans secondary that's going to be able to play aggressive because they know the pass rush is going to get home. This matchup's going to be a lot more interesting than people think to get us going on divisional round weekend.
Divisional round weekend continues with a Saturday contest that I know you're going to be edge of your seat. I am too. It's Commanders and Lions. And Sigmund, the Commanders with Jane Daniels. I'm not going to be hyperbolic, but I'm kind of going to be hyperbolic. They can do anything. They can do any. And Austin Eckler looking more like Austin Eckler. All right. And if you can get him late in the season, I know he missed time and concussion and various injuries, whatever, but you can get Austin Eckler playing like Austin Eckler of old. Well, guess what? With Jaden Daniels, anything's possible. He now has more touchdowns, I believe, in the final 30 seconds of a game to win than like Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, Joe Montana. Like, just don't give him any time, man. Right. And I love the Buccaneers story. Kind of sad to see him go down in the wild card round in the way that they fought. But the way Jaden Daniels is playing, it's not just house money. It's like we can go win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, they're the hot shooter at the craps table right now. 7. For the Commanders to win this game, they have to convert in the red zone. They have to convert when they have goal to go. And they were able to beat the Bucs, even though they weren't doing that consistently because of the Bucs' self-inflicted mistakes, snaps, issues. Okay, or they might not have won last week, and we'll get to the reasons why they might not have won without those mistakes. And so with the Lions, the one thing that has to change from last week is when they have goal to go, they have to turn that into touchdowns, and I think that Dan Quinn knows that. Aaron Glenn's going to have we've seen Aaron Glenn, who will be a head coach in a month, right? Aaron Glenn, we saw the game plan that he put together against Sam Darnold that Sean McVay and company were able to mimic and send Sam Darnold and the Vikings home. So I don't think you're going to go at Jaden Daniels the same way you would go at Sam Darnold, but I do think Aaron Glenn is going to come up with a one-off game plan to try to exploit whatever they can find on tape. My favorite Jaden Daniels stat, by the way, Cease, 3 times in the history of the NFL, a rookie quarterback has led an offense to a game with no punts and no turnovers. All 3 times were Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Week 2, week 3, and then last week in the wild card game. I'm getting chills, Cease. I'm getting chills thinking about this. This is not one of those things where you can cherry pick stats, okay? Jaden Daniels has some sort of still or calm in him that the team, you saw the clip of him when the game-winning field goal doinked off the upright. It's like someone was just bringing him a hot dog from the concession stand or something. I mean, it's just there's some sort of placid stillness in him. It is wild, but they have to be flawless. They can be flawless with Jaden Daniels. They're not going to establish the run. You are going to have Diami Brown, by the way, who's making a statement last week about what he can do, and of course Terry McLaurin, and we'll see. We'll see what kind of rabbit that Jaden Daniels can pull out of his hat, because this time around, you can't settle for field goals. You can't get stopped on 4th down inside of the 10. I think he can summon that up. The bigger question I have, Cease, is can the Washington defense make any kind of stop in this game?
Yeah, and David Montgomery going to be out there.
Yeah.
Right? So they're getting stronger. So the Lions side, basically, again, speaking of doing anything they want, yeah. Oh, you want to get in a track meet with these guys? Sure, we'll drop 45. You're not going to stop us.
Yeah, that's the thing is Baker Mayfield played outstanding last week. Let's not take anything away from him, but Washington couldn't make a stop. Washington could not make a stop. The only stops were self-inflicted stops. Only 7 possessions. They're not going to be able to hold Detroit to 7 possessions because Detroit can score in 3 or 4 plays. Detroit will say 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns. Fine. I mean, that's the thing. like you said, 45.7, that's 79, maybe one field goal in there for Jake Bates. So you look at this offense, and I don't even want to say Washington's happy to be there, Cease, because they didn't expect to be there. They didn't even expect to be there. Detroit is far from happy to be there. Detroit has seen it already, in so much as Dan Campbell, the spiritual leader, says, you have been preparing for this your whole life. We have been building to this our whole lives, to this moment. So I don't think you're going to see jitters. I don't think you're going to see any kind of the stage is too big. I think you're going to see a team that is ready to execute. And like you said, David Montgomery's back. Washington's pass defense is so vulnerable right now. So, and you got Khalif Raymond back. So Khalif Raymond and Tim Patrick, and of course Sam Laporta and Jamison Williams, who's had a terrific breakout year, and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff. And Jared Goff is improving, by the way. Jared Goff is getting better every year. So there are flaws that you might have been able to exploit with Jared Goff last year that if you test them this year, Ben Johnson might be going to join the Raiders. We'll see. So, I don't think you're going to see the self-inflicted errors that we saw from Tampa Bay. That's why Washington has to be flawless on offense, because Detroit probably will be flawless on offense. And Detroit has a defense now that's starting to feel themselves. So I think this is going to be entertaining, but Washington's going to have to come up with a game of their lives to get this one.
Of the teams that had a bye, I'm not even concerned about Detroit. I'm concerned about Kansas City. So Saturday will tell the tale. Sunday will tell the tale of the Rams and the Eagles. Let's start on the Rams side. And again, this is a team, you dumb bastard. Sorry,
Yeah.
Joe. You got the Rams going. That is a team that can win it all, and they can be dangerous. And Philadelphia always seems to be teetering, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with everybody? Like, all right, Ram side first, Sigmund. They can make some hay in this one.
Yeah, and Vic Fangio every day is going to be prepared for what exactly, though? Because this offense can grind it out with Kyron Williams. They can go downfield with Puka Nacua. You have Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, who looks like he's going to play. By the way, Tyler Higbee, before he went out, I think he had 5 catches on 12 plays. So is that your X factor here? Nakobe Dean went out. Nakobe Dean was the leader of that defense. Nakobe Dean went from disappointment to leader of the defense this year. Okay, that's massive. That's massive. Okay, look, I'm picking the Rams in this one. I'm not that we're doing our picks anymore, but I mean, this is a game where you look at this game and the Rams offense. Matthew Stafford, again, you talk about radiating calm. Matthew Stafford's been there, done that with this team in this uniform with some of these players. So you've got a question of how. And remember, Philadelphia defense is last week's game a different outcome if Jaden Reed doesn't get hurt, if Christian Watson doesn't get hurt in Week 18, if Romeo Doubs doesn't go out. So it's a little different story here. Yes, they were able to fluster Jordan Love. Yes, they were able to win somewhat comfortably, but they had some help from injury luck. And then, like I said, they have some injury luck going against them this week. So, yeah, the experience of the Rams, tough to counter on offense for the Eagles. And what I wonder for the Eagles, sees first, do they know that Kellen Moore's basically already hired for the Cowboys? Do they know this? I mean, is this like the worst kept secret? Because unlike the Jets, unlike the Bears, the Cowboys are not interviewing everybody. Like my phone's not ringing and say, "Oh, the Cowboys want to interview you." The Cowboys are not interviewing everybody. It sure seems like the Cowboys already know who their coach is going to be, and it's not Dion because
Nope.
Dion's just getting more money from Colorado. This is Jerry Jones doing a favor for his old buddy Dion, saying like, maybe I can wring a few more million out if you give me a call and I can talk about it, right?
It's a state institution. It can only make so much.
That's fair. That's fair. Maybe the boosters, call up the boosters. Anyway, so Kellen Moore, the other. So this is funny. Here's multiple layers to this take, Cease. Number one, the Eagles players already know Kellen Moore is going to be hired by the Cowboys, and that stuff does affect the team. I'm sorry, it
Oh yeah.
does.
Yep.
Number two, has Kellen Moore done enough as an offensive coordinator to deserve that kind of buzz? Because they're a very predictable offense. And the one thing you can't be in the NFL in the playoffs is predictable. And Jalen Hurts, bless his heart, who's overachieved every expectation in the NFL, of all the 8 quarterbacks playing this weekend, he would be the lowest on my list of playing outside of structure, of having to do something when the defense beats you to the spot and you have to come up with something else. Kellen Moore's not going to do it. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to do it. Saquon Barkley might be able to do it.
That's the key right there, Sigmund. As we talk Eagle side, it's like if Barkley does something superhuman,
Right.
that's the difference. Even though the Rams are dangerous and they're sharp, they're like a sharpened sword. Barkley's just a battering ram.
Yeah.
So if he does something superhuman, which he can,
Spin in the air, for instance.
exactly, backwards leap over you, then guess what? The Eagles can win because
Yeah.
Barkley's that dude.
Yeah, that's the thing is you got to ask the Eagles defense to make some stops and Saquon Barkley. And that's what we see divisional weekend. I just saw the condensed version, I was watching the condensed version of that epic 49ers Saints game from like 11 years ago, 12 years ago, with all the lead changes in the last 4 minutes. Of course, this was also the weekend that gave us the Chargers Dolphins game with Kellen Winslow that made me love football as like a 5 or 6 year old kid. And seeing Kellen Winslow and how he had to almost be carried off of the field after that game, after making every play on offense, on special teams, did everything he possibly could. Divisional weekend's exciting. Divisional weekend is when everything gets turned up. And because of that, that's when we see superhuman performances.
Yep.
That's when we see players transcend themselves and teams transcend themselves. But that's the guy. It's Saquon Barkley. But remember, this Rams defense is feeling itself right now. Aaron Donald, they don't need Aaron Donald. They've got Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner. And this ragtag group. Have you seen a secondary where so many players play 40, 50% of the snaps? But that tells me that the Rams understand how to deploy their players. The Rams understand this. We're going to shift to draft season soon. Do you understand what your player's strengths are? Where he wins? Josh Norris, what's up? The Rams understand where their guys win. So the Rams, I don't know if the Eagles have a decided advantage on offense versus the Rams defense. And if they're predictable and Saquon Barkley's not putting on that cape, they might be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, let's talk about the game of the games of the games. It's Ravens and it's Bills, and this, depending on our matchup, could be better than the Super Bowl. It's
Yes.
pretty much going to be better than the AFC Championship. It doesn't matter who gets there. Give me any matchup, and this game is better than that game. My opinion could totally be wrong. But Ravens side in entering this contest, it's like, all right, you took care of the JV team in the Steelers. We definitely saw like, okay, there's some good teams who aren't great, and this is the NFL's elite facing off against each other. This is the Ravens and the Bills. So Ravens side first, and obviously Derrick Henry, and we're not yet sure. Full disclosure, recording Thursday morning on Zay Flowers' status. Yeah, week 18, everybody. Yeah, thanks, week 18. Blank you, because of the Zay Flowers injury. Because I love Zay Flowers. Can't stand the Ravens, but love Zay Flowers. I'm conflicted, Sigmund.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the Ravens side first in this one, which I believe there's going to be snow, and I believe it's going to be cold. And I was just there last weekend, and my God, that's different cold than Colorado cold.
Yeah, bone chilling. Last year, these teams played in the playoffs when the Ravens were the number 1 seed, and the Ravens' offense just couldn't get anything going. This is the story that is plaguing Lamar Jackson. If the story that's plaguing Sam Darnold is seeing ghosts, then the story that's plaguing Lamar Jackson is you're great in the regular season, but you can't do it in the playoffs. And we go back to the disappointment after disappointment of Lamar Jackson-led Ravens teams in the playoffs. Now, he's never had Derrick Henry. That's the thing, right? And sure sounds like if you're playing in the cold, having someone like Derrick Henry, that's not just a snowplow, that's a tank with a snowplow on the front. And so no Zay Flowers, maybe no problem. Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Tylan Wallace, who's going into free agency, by the way. Don't forget about Tylan Wallace, who has some good special teams value. It's going to be an interesting guy. Don't think this is going to be a Mark Andrews game. Matt Milano shuts down Mark Andrews. Matt Milano, very quietly, Matt Milano came back at the end of the season for the Bills. Big time player, tight end stopper. But you can't put Matt Milano on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. That's the guy. How did the season start? The Ravens didn't quite beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. They almost did. But Isaiah Likely showed in that game that if you take away Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely is going to kill you in the middle of the field. And I do believe that Isaiah Likely is going to be a very important player in this pass offense. And Lamar Jackson, we talk about putting on the cape and superhuman plays. Yeah, Lamar Jackson has some of those in him too.
Yeah, that's who he is.
That's who he is. So the Bills defense has overachieved. Christian Benford is a name that folks should know as a corner. There are players on that defensive line that people should know. Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver, AJ Epinesa, so many names. Who will be the names that we're talking about This is so exciting, Cease, because I think on the other side of the ball, we have so many intriguing matchups. And I think that we're not even going to look back at this game and say this was the key player or this was the key matchup. At different points in the game, the spotlight's going to be on different players and different matchups. And in the end, we will have to crown a winner. And it's just a shame that one of these teams won't get a chance to go to the Super Bowl because they've worked hard. And dare I say they're both peaking right now.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, there's different narratives. So let's go down narrative street. Because with Buffalo, it's like 5 straight AFC East titles. It does, like, getting to the postseason, getting to the AFC Championship, that doesn't matter. You must get to the Super Bowl and then go win the damn thing. If you're Buffalo, that's the level that they're on. This isn't a, Broncos show. It isn't a Broncos situation like, hey, we made it, guys. It's a successful season. We're building. You've got everything. You know, it may not be, where's the number one receiver? Who cares? You have Josh Allen, but your narrative is this isn't good enough.
No.
Division beating the hell out of Denver. They could have dropped 50 on Denver easily. They called the dogs off, man. Now you got a real challenge in Baltimore, and you better be sure.
Yeah, you better be. And, Denver, don't take anything away from Denver's defense. We didn't do recap. We don't do recaps on playoffs. The first half, Denver's defense played their hearts out. They really put everything out there. They got to Josh Allen a few times, and they held them to 10 points. They made some stops. But the Bills' offense right now is you can only stop them for so long. You can only answer them for so long before Josh Allen and a cast of thousands in the passing game and James Cook and Ty Johnson, the running game. That's the thing. So on the Ravens side, what has changed since last year? Derrick Henry. And remember, the Ravens smoked the Bills during the regular season this year, just mopped the floor with them. Okay. What has changed on the Bills side? The Joe Brady offense doesn't put everything on Josh Allen's shoulders anymore. Josh Allen looks comfortable. Josh Allen, people were comparing stats last year to stats this year. Well, the stats last year, Josh Allen often was doing a high wire act where he had to do everything perfect, and he did to achieve what this offense achieved. This year, he just had to go out and execute. He's comfortable. He's at ease. I just have to go out and execute. There's always going to be someone open. There's always going to be a play to make, and I don't have to do something superhuman to make that play. So both of these teams are improved from last year on offense. The other thing is the Bills can play pull up your britches, big boy football now. The Bills can play, we're going to dominate you in the trenches. You're going to be tired of seeing us coming at you with James Cook and Ty Johnson. Ray Davis looks like he'll be okay, get out of concussion protocol. So the Bills were not a team last year would say, well, they can run the ball 35 times and wear you down that way. But they can. Now, the Ravens' pass rush has really been coming on. The Ravens' off defense has gotten better over the course of the season. Their pass rush has been coming on. And like I said, Denver did get home a few times against Josh Allen. Tough guy to sack. They brought him down more than once. So Josh Allen's not going to be able to be too comfortable back there in passing situations. But how do you answer a passing game? Are they missing Stephon Diggs? No. You've got Amari Cooper downfield. Marlon Humphrey probably going to have that assignment. You've got Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, Dawson Knox in the middle field. But also don't forget Mac Hollins. Okay, don't forget Curtis Samuel. Forgot about Curtis Samuel last week?
Yeah.
Broncos sure didn't. So someone's going to get open. Someone's going to get free. Maybe James Cook is a receiver. Maybe Ty Johnson is a receiver. We've seen that too. So, see, this is going to be, for those of you that are too young to remember when boxing was 15 rounds, this is your 15-round title fight. This is your slugfest. This is on one hand, I want to say the team that wins this game will be ready for whatever is coming next week. But on the other hand, I hope the team that wins this game isn't too beat up and too emotionally spent, because that's what it's going to take to win this game.
Yeah, that's what it is going to take. That's for sure. So it is the Audible here on our YouTube channel. You may be listening on Spotify or Apple Music, or however you take in your podcast. We certainly appreciate you. Let's get us to 30,000 subscribers. We're a few hundred short of that. I know it's the off season, non-playing season, but get us up there. So make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Follow Sigmund on the socials at Sigmund Bloom. The show is at the Audible. And I'm at C. Salami saying, thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy your weekend of football. Stay warm. Or should I say, stay frosty.